Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join me as we explore Southwest's lost historical characters, stunning desert vistas, forgotten Native American history, or tales of lost gold mines. There's always something new to discover. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Sit back and enjoy. It's 1819, and the scorching Arizona sun beats down on an extraordinary scene unfolding at the Tucson presidio. Chief Chilitapaj, leading 236 Apaches, approaches the Spanish fortress, not with weapons drawn but with hands extended in peace. Within weeks, the scene would repeat itself as 10 additional Apache chiefs and their bands arrived, seeking reconciliation with their former enemies. This remarkable moment wasn't just a diplomatic breakthrough, it was the culmination of decades of transformation in Spanish Arizona. How did a region once defined by brutal warfare between Spanish settlers and Apache raiders become a place where former enemies could break bread together? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating yet overlooked periods of American Southwest history, the final years of Spanish Arizona, a story of conflict, innovation, and an unlikely peace. To understand this transformation, we need to travel back to 1691, when a determined Jesuit missionary named Father Eusebio Kino first arrived in this unforgiving landscape. Kino's mission was clear: bring Christianity to the indigenous peoples of the region. But success proved elusive. While the Pima and Sobai Puri Native Americans showed some receptiveness to his message, most native peoples maintained their traditional ways, resistant to Spanish influence. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest adventure. If you would like to help support my channel and time, hit the super thanks heart icon on the bottom of the video and contribute. Please forgive any mispronunciations. Relax and enjoy. This tension eventually erupted in the Pima Rebellion, a watershed moment that forced Spanish authorities to establish the Tubac Presidio in 1752. This military outpost would become the first in a network of fortifications designed to protect Spanish interests in the region. But protection was sorely needed. The situation was far more dire than many in Madrid realized. The Apache raids were relentless and strategically coordinated. Some Apaches dominated the San Pedro River corridor, while Chiricahua and Pinal Gila Apaches terrorized settlers throughout both the San Pedro and Santa Cruz valleys. By the 1770s, Spanish forces found themselves pushed into a defensive position, struggling to maintain even basic control of their northern frontier. Enter King Carlos III of Spain, whose 1772 regulations would reshape the entire region. These weren't minor adjustments. They represented a complete overhaul of Spain's frontier policy. Based on the comprehensive 1768 report by the Marquis de Ruby, the new regulations called for a strategic cordon of presidios along the frontier. But perhaps most significantly, they marked a dramatic shift in Spanish Indian policy, transferring control from the church to the military and establishing a controversial policy of Indian extermination. The implementation was swift and decisive. The Tubac garrison relocated to Tucson in 1776, establishing the new presidio of San Agustin del Tucson. Two other garrisons briefly moved north but returned south by 1780, creating a more concentrated defensive line. But the story takes a fascinating turn with the arrival of an exceptional commander, Captain Pedro Allende y Saavedra. Allende y Saavedra wasn't your typical frontier officer. A Spanish nobleman with 22 years of military experience, he commanded 77 well-trained men by 1778. His campaigns would become legendary among both Spanish settlers and native peoples. His May 1778 expedition north demonstrated Spanish reach, while his November 1779 defense against 350 Apaches showed Spanish resilience. Between 1783 and 1784, he led multiple campaigns to the Gila River, and his expeditions toward the Solomonville area proved that Spanish forces could project power deep into Apache territory. The Spanish military of this era was a fascinating blend of old-world military tradition and frontier adaptation. Each soldier carried an impressive arsenal: a lance for charging, a short sword for close combat, 2 pistols for immediate defense, and a carbine for distance engagement. They wore distinctive 6-ply leather jackets called cueras, which could stop arrows but proved challenging in the Arizona heat. Their leather shields completed a defensive ensemble that was effective against masked enemies but less suited for the hit-and-run tactics favored by Apache warriors. Their tactics were equally distinctive. Spanish forces excelled at set-piece battles but struggled against the more mobile Apache raiders. In a practice that spoke to the brutality of frontier warfare, they would mount the heads of their enemies on lances as a warning, a grim reminder of the cost of resistance. But in 1786, everything changed with Bernardo de Galvez's revolutionary peace policy. Rather than continuing the cycle of violence, Galvez proposed something radical: establish peace settlements, establecimientos de paz, near the presidios. The policy was comprehensive and carefully considered. It included regular food and supply distributions, agricultural training, and even the controlled provision of liquor and old firearms to Apache groups who joined the settlements. This wasn't a small investment. The Spanish crown set aside 7,000 pesos for Sonoran settlements alone, with plans to feed up to 6,000 Indians. Multiple locations were selected for these settlements, creating a network of peaceful interaction between formerly hostile peoples. The results were remarkable. By 1793, the first Apache rancheria was established at Tucson. By the late 1790s, 18 Apache families had made Tucson their permanent home, with the Spanish government spending 1,600 pesos annually on their support. Another 40 Apache families settled at Apache, creating a second successful peace settlement. This period of peace allowed for unprecedented development in the region. Religious architecture flourished, beginning with the construction of San Xavier del Bac in 1783. The Tumacacori mission followed in 1802, and the San Agustin del Tucson Convento was built between 1797 and 1810. These weren't just places of worship, they were symbols of the new stability. The economic transformation was equally impressive. Ranching expanded dramatically. By 1804, Tucson alone boasted 4,000 cattle, 2,600 sheep, and 1,200 horses. Major land grants reshaped the landscape. Rancho de Buenavista, La Canoa, San Jose de Sonoita, and the massive San Bernardino grant, which supported an incredible 100,000 cattle. Agriculture diversified beyond traditional crops. While wheat, corn, beans, peas, and lentils remained staples, cotton production began to take root. Lime mining north of Tucson provided materials for construction, while mining operations near Arivaca and the Salero mine in the Santa Rita Mountains began extracting precious metals by 1821. This period of peace and prosperity wasn't achieved through military might alone. Captain José de Zúñiga's 1794 campaigns and the 1795 expedition, attempting to open a Santa Fe trade route, showed that Spanish authorities were thinking beyond mere security. They were building a sustainable future for the region. But as with all golden ages, this one too had to end. The transition to Mexican rule in 1821 marked the beginning of a slow decline. While Spanish captains remained in service and José Romero continued as Tucson's commander, the foundation of peace began to crack. The carefully maintained balance would hold until 1831, but various factors were already working against it. The reasons for the breakdown were complex. Political turmoil in Europe distracted Spanish authorities. Mexican independence brought new priorities and new challenges. The Mexican government lacked both the funds and the interest to maintain the expensive peace policy. The conversion of Apache peoples to a sedentary lifestyle proved incomplete, and Spanish military strength remained limited. Perhaps most importantly, the Apache people's fundamental resistance to abandoning their traditional way of life created an underlying tension that no amount of food or supplies could fully resolve. What makes this period so fascinating is not just the achievement of peace between former enemies, but what it tells us about the possibility of transformation. For 35 years, Spanish settlers and Apache peoples found a way to coexist, even if imperfectly. It's a chapter of history that reminds us how policy, persistence, and pragmatism can sometimes achieve what weapons and warfare cannot. As we look back at that sun-baked presidio where Chief Chilitapaj and his people sought peace in 1819, we're reminded that history is rarely as simple as we imagine. The story of Spanish Arizona's final years is one of complexity, adaptation, and the eternal human struggle between conflict and cooperation. It's a testament to the possibility of peace, even in the most unlikely circumstances, and a reminder that sometimes the boldest policy changes can yield the most remarkable results. I hope you enjoyed this Southwest story. Check out my large catalog of videos and playlists. Happy trails! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.